be uploaded to the official website of the Department of Foreign Affairs, the ASEAN 2026 Philippine Chairship website, and the official website of ASEAN. Thank you. I'm now open for questions.
Those who will be asking questions, please identify yourselves and your agency. Tristan Nadalo.
Good afternoon, Secretary. Secretary, allow me to shift back to a more domestic issue regarding the Philippine-China relations. You've
Can I
issued.
just say something? Can you, may I request that the questions now focus on what I just said? Because this press conference is actually because of the ASEAN ministerial meeting. Probably if I have time, I'll answer domestic
Sure,
questions
ma'am.
later.
Okay. Speaking of the code of conduct, are there still any contentious issues that ASEAN and China are still trying to resolve? And what kind of commitment did you get from your fellow foreign ministers to
Well,
conclude?
contentious issues, I think you're aware of it, is the milestone issues. I think I enumerated it. It's the scope, the geographical scope, the connection or the link between the DOC and the COC, the legally binding element or characteristic of this document, and some other definition of terms. Your next question is, was there
Any commitment from
any
your fellow?
commitment of a sort? Definitely. There's even willingness to host meetings, face-to-face meetings, and that is a real commitment from our ASEAN member state colleagues.
And sorry, just one follow-up on the COC. When you say conclude COC, what does it actually mean? Are we expecting a document or just the negotiations?
Exactly what it means. That is the termination of negotiations and a code of conduct between ASEAN and China. That's what it means.
Thank you.
Hello, Secretary Mara Cepeda from the Straits Times. I'd like to clarify, ma'am, if the foreign ministers today have decided if ASEAN as a group is recognizing the results of the Myanmar elections.
Well, as I've mentioned, there is no consensus on the uh, endorsing these elections. In fact, there are many other issues like so there are really no results yet. They just finished the three phases. And the results, we don't know what are the pronouncements after the results come in. And well, as far as ASEAN's collective view is concerned, there is no endorsement at this point of time.
Ma'am, a follow-up. Your early visit to Myanmar and followed by the talks in Tagaytay with political stakeholders and ethnic groups from the Philippines have drawn some criticisms from some quarters. I'm sure you've heard, ma'am.
For
But,
both, for
for
both engagements,
the political stakeholders meeting, ma'am. But also the visit to Myanmar. How does the Philippines, ma'am, ensure that its engagement this year with Myanmar, regardless of the
Let-
side, is seen as balanced and does not confer legitimacy to one actor?
well, if you do not see it as balance, visiting Nipidu and holding a stakeholders meeting, then there's something odd about it. The fact is, I did it at the very first part of the year to visit the Nipidu, which is the capital of Myanmar, in my capacity as special envoy of the chair to Myanmar. That is it. That is stipulated in the 5-point consensus, and it is a function and it is a mandate, and that's the reason. Of course, you cannot win everyone. I think I do not know how to discuss this issue if I haven't talked to the military junta. And I'd like to add that the reason why I went there on such an early time because I don't want to endorse the elections. Secondly, thereafter is the stakeholders meeting, which was actually a group that was formed by Malaysia during their term as chair. So if that is not the way to balance things, I don't know how.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Next, sir.
Good afternoon, Secretary. I'm Waikit from CNA. Madam Secretary, earlier you mentioned unilateral actions that have cross-regional implications. Can I ask, what are ASEAN's safeguards if these threats are made directly to our region? And just one more question on Myanmar. How does ASEAN plan to strike a balance between having a firm position on the Myanmar military of 5-point consensus while also noting that developments may move towards business as usual post-election? How can both tracks coexist, and how would you see these coexistence in a post-election Myanmar?
Sorry,
Thank
I
you.
didn't get your first question, but I'd like to respond to your second question. I think what is meant there is bilaterally, certain members or members, ASEAN member states can conduct some discussions with Myanmar. However, as a collective unit, as ASEAN, this is something that has to be that there should be consensus in making certain decisions. I'm sorry, but I didn't get your first question.
May I repeat my first question? Earlier in your opening remarks, you talked about unilateral actions that has cross-border implications. If such unilateral actions were to be made directly against our region, what safeguards does ASEAN have?
Can you say that in what context was the unilateral discussions? In what context is that? Is that Myanmar?
I believe your remarks did not mention any party. So I think that the exact words were unilateral moves that have cross-regional implications.
Well, there may be other unilateral situations. Of course, with the present geopolitical situation, things are moving, as you know well. So there are these are the possibilities that unilateral actions may take place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take one question here.
Good afternoon, Secretary.
Afternoon.
Secretary, I have two related questions on Myanmar. ASEAN, as it is now, does not recognize the military ruled government of that country. Is that right?
Let me qualify that. But yes, the answer is yes. We do not. ASEAN does not recognize the Myanmar military junta as of now. I mean, which are situated in the capital.
My next question is, so in that context, whether there was consensus or not among your fellow ministers today in the retreat meetings, there is no way for ASEAN, because you do not recognize the military administration that held the elections, there's no way for ASEAN now to recognize the elections as it is as of now, right?
Well, I guess some ASEAN member states are also looking into the outcome of the elections. They yes, they do not agree that this military government is not recognized, but it's, as I said, evolving character. There's no decision yet, so it seems that there are a number of very pragmatic way of looking at things that such might evolve into another policy decision at a certain point of time, but it's not at as of this date.
Yeah, but as of now, officially, ASEAN as a bloc does not recognize
No.
the elections.
No,
Right. As
no,
of,
it does not. Yes, as of now,
it does not recognize the recently held
it is
elections.
not. It has not endorsed the three phases of the elections that was held in Myanmar.
That means it does not recognize the three-stage elections, right? Just to be clear.
Um, it's how would I say? But simply saying to respond to your question, yes, it does not recognize, but there are nuances and permutations towards that.
All right. Thank you for that, ma'am. Ma'am, and next on the COC, you are hopeful, as everybody, as all the ministers are, to conclude the talks this year. Ma'am, I think there are four contentious issues called milestones that you have to conclude. Can you tell us at this point how many, if one or two or all of, there been no uh, significant conclusion of any of the four or five milestones or contentious issues?
To answer the question directly is there are the question was contentious issues. There's not been any result or decision on the contentious issues, but there seem to be uh, I think everybody is trying to do its respective way on how to do things. Like, I just want to tell you that one of the ASEAN member states has come up with a paper on one of the milestone issues. So now everybody is trying to put in uh, definitions, as well as possible areas of cooperation, and not, I mean, trying to address the milestone issues.
I'm sorry, Wenglas. Malaysia, Indonesia, the recent chairmans have failed to bring, I mean, significant progress in the COC talk. Now, as chair, the Philippines, um, can you describe to us your level of confidence of concluding the very difficult talks that you're facing? Is it low, middle, or high?
I would love, being an optimist, I would like to say that a high level of confidence. But as being an optimist, but being a pragmatist, I would say that I cannot really predict. But this is what we're going to do as a strategy. We, the Philippines now, as chair, will have monthly face to face meetings of the technical working group. And that has been a commitment, and it is a proposal, and was accepted by our ASEAN
Have
colleagues.
China agreed to that? Ma'am?
I mean, we're in the process of talking to them, but I don't see any difficulties with that. I mean, I'm just, again, being an optimist and a pragmatist.
Thank you so much, Secretary.
Thank you.
Please identify your agency and state your name before asking questions.
Good
Thank you.
afternoon, ma'am. Celerina Monte from NHK. Ma'am, since you have mentioned that there's no consensus regarding these elections in Myanmar, may we know how will ASEAN move forward? And by April, it will have the new government. So what can you see? What ASEAN will do?
Well, there will be several meetings and discussions again on this matter. We, as I said, one of the determining elements is also what will be the pronouncements that will be made by the military government. ASEAN is of the view that even a certain compliance in the implementation of the 5 point consensus is something that will make things move. So we're still looking into that matter. Um, the representative of Myanmar was present during the discussions, and there had been some kind of pronouncements that came from the representative of Myanmar.
May we know how many of those ASEAN members who actually expressed support with regarding these elections?
They have not really, as I told you, they have not, it's not an expression of support, but with a view that these elections um, might be something positive. Um, if you ask me the number, there's well, we're only 11, so I would say that well, a good number.
So does that mean that in the next coming meetings, high-level meetings, still the representatives of Myanmar would be not the ministerial level?
I guess that is still a statement, or rather a decision by the leaders, that no member of the military government will sit in the summit level, as well as the foreign ministerial level. So that is a decision that may not be that easy until there is another leaders, depending on how it evolves, and only the leaders can amend such a leader's decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Gao Mian from Phoenix TV. I have two questions. First is, it is reported that there is a special meeting between ASEAN and China on the topic of South China Sea from 30 January to 2nd February. Could you give some detailed information about this? Who is the representative of China attending? Thank you.
I'm sorry, can I ask my colleagues? I don't know about this.
You don't know?
Do you know? These are my ASEAN office colleagues, and they don't know. This is the first time I'm hearing this.
Also, there's no this meeting.
I am just not aware. I don't know. I didn't say that there is none. I am not aware.
Okay. And second question is, in the region, there is a tendency that the cross-border crimes become spreading, which affected the tourism and economic development in the region. And internationally, there is also some big issues such as Venezuela president be kept, and Greenland issue, and also the Middle East Iran problems. Those big problems also has potential impact on the regional development. So what kind of exchanges between these ASEAN countries share in this foreign minister retreats?
Well, just to say that the subjects that you have mentioned had a lot of airtime, if I may say so, in our discussions of the foreign ministers. Indeed, these are issues, international, regional, international issues that have that may have an impact to the region, and therefore much has been said about these issues that you mentioned, which involves, and we go back to the basic issue, to the principles of ASEAN and the rules-based international order, dispute settlement, the use of diplomacy and dialogue. We always go back to that principle whenever we have discussions on these issues that you have mentioned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
ma'am. Next.
Good afternoon. My name is Yuki Fujita from Nikkei, Japanese media. I'd like to ask about the relations between ASEAN and the United States. As you know, so that Trump administration has adopted a strategy emphasizing the Western Hemisphere, referred to as a Donroe Doctrine. There are concerns that U.S. attention toward Asia may diminish. So how do you plan to maintain good relation with the United States as a chair, and with the Philippine government call on President Trump to attend all summit meetings this year, including the East Asia Summit?
There has been no discussion. We have not discussed yet. I mean, we're now in January. I think your issue is sometime in November for the second summit. Of course, we are preparing, but I think it's premature to respond to your questions as of this time. Okay, thank you.
Next, ma'am.
Can I have two more questions, as I have another bilateral meeting?
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Two more questions.
Hi, Ma'am Joanna Balyaran from GG Press. Ma'am, aside from the monthly meetings, what other novel strategies would the Philippines do this time to ensure that the COC will be finalized by the end of the Philippines ASEAN chairship?
Your question was as aside from the frequency.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, good questions. As I said, one country, one ASEAN member state came up with a paper on one of the milestones. And then there were other member states who are now coming up with papers on the milestone issues. We, the Philippines, well, just to be open about it, one of the issues is on the definition of self-restraint. So that is something that the Philippine, our delegation, is working on. Again, not only a definition, but possible terms of reference of that issue on the definition, well, on that of self-restraint. So what I'm trying to say is that we are doubly, even triply working hard to make sure that there is something of a confluence of, or rather, some kind of consensus. We're building up consensus. Right now, we're doing the role of a consensus builder.
How many, a follow-up, how many countries do you think are in favor of signing the COC by the end of this year?
Signing all
I mean,
of us. It's precisely ASEAN, China, Code of Conduct on the South China Sea. ASEAN has been talking about this for the past 17 years. And so that I always say that the ASEAN and as well as China have heavily invested in this document. So let's see. We'll cross our fingers. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Secretary. I'm Ron Calunsod of Kyodo News. Can you tell us, ma'am, the topics discussed during yesterday afternoon's discussion on the 5PC, and how was it different? How was the Myanmar issue tackle differently today with the representative already present?
It's basically the same because the ASEAN has not changed. Yesterday was, of course, more very informal, but it goes back to the basic concept that the 5 point consensus is still the primary basis in our relations with Myanmar.
So for today, what did the permanent
It's
secretary share?
it's the permanent secretary was just trying. The representative rather of Myanmar was just stating, "Oh, this is very peaceful elections. That there had been a good number of people who participated." He was trying to um, describe and the good things about what happened to their electoral process.
Last point on the special envoy position to Myanmar by ASEAN. Did you discuss whether it's good to extend the term or
Well, it's not
rotate?
that. It's not whether to this. There is already a decision by the leaders in Kuala Lumpur that there should be a long-term special envoy, and therefore for Myanmar, and therefore the senior officials meeting or the SOM will be discussing it further.
Thank you. We'll take the last question from that side.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Andrew Calonzo po from Bloomberg. Just to tie up all the loose ends, ma'am. You mentioned earlier that the ASEAN as a bloc isn't recognizing the three phases of the election so far. But you also said some members are opting for pragmatism. You said there will be elements, you will be watching out for elements or pronouncements by the military government, and that the election might be something positive. So what sort of elements and pronouncements will that be?
I really have no idea that will be, but that is something that some countries are looking forward to. So that, well, just give you the basic premise. We prefer that Myanmar will still be with ASEAN, but there has to be certain progress in the present situation. So probably that's where the optimism comes out. But I don't know what kind of pronouncements that will come out. It really depends on the junta.
Okay. And you mentioned that as so essentially, ma'am, is the ASEAN open to shift its position and recognize
If
the go ahead. Go ahead, go ahead.
I know what your question is. Well, again, ASEAN is consensus.
Okay.
If there is consensus, then there can be a shift. It's just that a very simple response, and we'll see how it. As I said, it's evolving. Geopolitics also is evolving in our region, so we'll see. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
maraming salamat
Any,
po.
any closing statement, ma'am?
Closing statement. Well, you concentrated only on the code of conduct and the Myanmar issue. I was hoping you will be asking about the other issues like the Thai Cambodian border. But since you did not ask, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, DFA Secretary Theresa Lazaro and the rest of the ASEAN National Organizing Committee. Thank you, ASEAN Press Corps.